Colton Joseph will begin the transfer portal process at quarterback, but there's going to be a lot of big names still coming down the pipe.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day, each and every day, right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. We're going to be talking about the transfer portal quarterback situation as the season is now over. Only thing left are bowl games and the playoff. You're going to see a lot of names come out this week and next and the week after. And for the record, January 2nd through the 16th is the official portal window when all the paperwork really gets done. But right now is the most important time for your team and every college football team to figure out if we're going to be in the transfer portal quarterback market. I don't know who all is going to get in, but we're going to talk about Colton Joseph in a little bit. This is the first guy that's going to be a trendsetter, and it's going to be a player that's a great measuring stick for not just whether Tennessee or Florida State or somebody like Oregon, if Dante Moore leaves. All these guys have an opportunity, but he's one of the first. He's at Old Dominion. We're going to be talking about how a guy from a lower level ends up at a big-time program. It's going to be kind of interesting because, again, this is just the beginning of it, but we need a barometer. So Colton Joseph, we'll get to a little later. But the first thing that I want to talk about, and if you take nothing else from the show, it's the following. The price of the quarterbacks. It's going to be massive this year for two primary reasons. There's only one portal window. You got to guess. There is no, well, it didn't go well after spring practice. We're just going to go get a quarterback now. Doesn't work that way. There is no spring window. Again, cannot stress this enough. There's only one. If that's going to be the case, is your school really going to be ready? Are they truly ready doing all the prep work right now? Who do we need? Is it a fit, not just on the field, but culturally in the locker room? As somebody who's covered Florida State, I can tell you that when you bring in the wrong players, not necessarily a quarterback at any spot, it can run your locker room, cause problems with NIL in the locker room, and things can go south. Look at Florida State's 2024 team as an example. I don't think that anybody's going to be not looking at that at all. They know. We're going to see fewer of those situations moving forward. People learn from their mistakes and others, but there's probably still going to be somebody that picks the wrong quarterback. We'll talk about that after next season. But this year, there have been a lot of good ones. Joey Aguilar, et cetera, that kind of came in and did a pretty good job. But there are going to be some others that don't. So how much is it going to cost you to, quote unquote, fix your situation or at least replace somebody good? Let's use Oregon as a barometer. If Dante does leave, Dante Moore's a really good player for the Ducks. They're going to be at a tough spot. They've got some young guys that are very, very talented, but because of Dante, they really haven't played. Would Oregon go into the market, or would they stay pat based on what they've seen in practice? Remember now, Will Stein has also left Oregon. This is very complicated. He's become the head coach for the Kentucky Wildcats. He's from that area, family ties to Kentucky, etc. That would be a very interesting situation if Oregon got in it for two reasons. Number one, what would happen with the guys on the roster? Number two, let's just be blunt, Oregon has the greatest booster of all time in Phil Knight. He's the owner of Nike. He's the creator of Nike. To say they can, quote unquote, set the market is the biggest facetious thing to even say. Like, why even mention it? It's obvious. Like, their money's different than most, but at the same time, if they get in it, all this goes up. So for right now, just keep Oregon in mind. And I bring up Dante. I have no idea if Dante's going to turn pro. That'll be something he has to determine soon enough. But at the same time, if they are, it's going to go up from this. I'm going to say top portal quarterbacks, this is for 1 year, to be clear, at minimum will be $3 million for top guys. Minimum. Remember last year, Miami, another team that has a lot of money in the portal, Carson Beck comes to Miami for allegedly $4 million. If it's anywhere close to that, puts it in perspective. But here are some of the teams that I expect to be in or have a quarterback leaving. Take it for what it's worth. This is just my opinion. Tennessee, does Joey Aguilar come back to UT? If they can get the right quarterback, I could see them moving on. He's good, but are you going to win a championship with him? Josh Heupel's offense is a blast to play in. They've got Faison Brandon coming in, elite quarterback out of the state of North Carolina. Great kid, too. I had a chance to cover him a couple times. He's what you're looking for in terms of a personality, but he'll be a true freshman. That's a lot to ask. So if it's not Aguilar, will they get in the mix? And that's also, again, remember Nico Imaleva was a guy that went there originally. They have a lot of NIL money. That could be a big player in this market. Indiana. I'm an Indiana grad. I know they have a ton of money, and Fernando Mendoza is going to turn pro after this year. That's pretty clear, regardless of what the number one ranked Hoosiers do in the playoff. He's going to be a top 5 pick, maybe the first pick in the draft. Indiana has no quarterback, but a lot of money, and now they've got momentum. They're going to be expected to go in and do something with that money. They will definitely be a player. Another Big Ten team that I'm not sure what's going to happen because of the coaching situation, all the change. Will Penn State take a quarterback and not just a guy, a backup? Will they try to get a dude? That's one I really don't have a feel for, but I could see it. And this is a really interesting one. If Oregon's not the biggest player in the portal market this year, the following could be, and it's with an asterisk. Lane Kiffin at LSU. Are they going to get Trinidad Chambliss to come down from Ole Miss? I mean, I'll be blunt. I'm not trying to pick on Ole Miss, but he's probably going to want to play with Lane. If Trinidad Chambliss gets the waiver, this is his 4th year of college football, 3 of which were at Division II Ferris State before going to Ole Miss. He's allegedly applying for a waiver. I have no idea how that would work. My guess is he will get it because, like, Division II in a lot of ways is like a junior college. And the JUCO kids, like Diego Pavia, are getting an extra year. Diego's even trying to get another one. I don't know how that will go, but if he does, that's helpful for a lot of programs because LSU needs quarterback. And they're going to spend big. They want Lane to come out of the gate hot. And if they're in the market, it's going to drive that price up. What I said earlier, $3 million is kind of the barometer. I think it's going to go up from that. Trinidad Chambliss would eliminate one of the big box schools. It'd be over with. You take them out of the market. Auburn, this is another one that it should be done. Byron Brown, USF quarterback. Alex Golesh helped that kid become a stud. And now he's got another year left, and he's going to go to Auburn from everything I've heard. I don't know what he'll make. It'd probably be considerable, and he's really good. But if he goes to Auburn, that's another school, big box school with a lot of money. Auburn definitely has some pretty deep pockets with NIL. They'd be done. So that would be another player done. But here's the one that everybody wants to know about, at least where I'm at down south. The Florida Gators. How's that going to go? I was told before Napier's replacement was named that DJ Lagway was going to leave. Is he still going to leave? I really don't know. John Summerall's a really good coach, defensive-minded guy, but they bring in, this is where it gets really interesting, a tremendous coach, Buster Faulkner. He was the offense coordinator, quarterback coach for the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck. They did a lot with Haynes King. He went from a guy that was just a player in college football to one of the centerpieces to a team that was really good. They didn't have the defensive talent to get it done and didn't have quite enough offensive weapons to get it done, like to go for a title. But considering where Tech was, Faulkner and that crew overall, Brent Key, they did a tremendous job, masterful, if you will. He goes to Gainesville. Does DJ want to play in that system, though? Because the quarterback runs a lot. DJ has the frame and the arm and the deep ball ability to be an NFL quarterback, but he's had a lot of problems reading defenses. There are questions I have. If he gets in the portal, there are going to be some takers. A&M could be somebody. Maybe he goes there and sits a year. He was interested in USC out of high school. Then there's a lot of other people. If Trinidad Chambliss doesn't end up at LSU because he's out of eligibility, I'd imagine Lane Kiffin would at least make that phone call. That's a big, big domino. Is DJ Lagway that guy? Does he have the opportunity to really look at Florida as the best fit for him, or does he want to play in just a pure pro style? Because again, he's going to run in Buster's offense. You have to fit the scheme to a certain degree, and he's capable, but he's been injury prone to this point in his career. So that's a big domino. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about Georgia, Florida State, and some other schools. And I leave you with the question before we come back. How much do you think it is you get to a point for paying, at whatever school you're at, doesn't matter, How much is too much? How much is too much out of your coffers to pay for a quote unquote top quarterback? We're going to talk about that next, right here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. It has been a long time. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be a massive event. But let's be honest, getting tickets to the World Cup is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving you, the fan, a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. As somebody who literally this past Saturday used Game Time's app to get 2 tickets to a basketball game, this is how the experience works. You go on the app, you search what you're looking for, whether it's a team, a date, whatever it is for soccer, for basketball, for football. You find the team, you click on it, and then you can pick your seat. You click on it, whatever price you get is right there. It's the same at the beginning as it is at the end, and you can see your seat view. You click on the seat, it will literally show you the venue from that seat. It's really cool. And I got exactly what I expected, and that's why I like Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets, every match, every concert, or anything else, football, basketball, whatever it may be. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Brian Smith. Please become an everydayer if you have not already. Doing an early live show today. I've got some stuff going on with family. If you're familiar with this show, this is obviously not where I live. I'm at my parents' house. I will be here all week, but we'll be doing some live shows on noon, probably the rest of the week, at least Tuesday through Thursday. A little early today to get some stuff done, get some shopping done with my mom, but we will be back at a noon schedule very, very soon. So I asked again, and I'll get to the chat one second right after I ask this question again, because I want people to think about it. Post your comments in the chat, and if you're listening to this later, post on the YouTube page for Locked On the Portal. How much is too much for a transfer portal quarterback? Is it $2 million? Is it $3 million? $4 million? Are there tiers? Of course, we'll talk about that next. But how much is too much, and who are some of the other teams involved? So I'm going to let that percolate. Anybody who wants to comment, whatever, in the chat, fire away. But here are a few things. Katie, what's going on? College football has gone nuts, literally has lost its mind. Well, there's probably some truth with that. The Dr. 660, it's my favorite. What the world is this going on? Idiots. Katie, quarterback rooms can end this lunacy. When a head coach constantly brings in a portal quarterback, the entire room should leave. This is the problem. Katie brings up a really good point. When you bring in a portal quarterback, what year they are, who you have, there's good and bad. Let me just explain this, because this is a big box topic. I'll give the shortened answer here. Let's use Tennessee. This is a good one. If for whatever reason Joey Aguilar is not back at Tennessee, do you want your stud Faison Brandon starting as a freshman in the Southeastern Conference? Some do, but is he ready? That offense is not super complex to run. There are some advantages for a freshman, but is the young man ready? Maybe. What about the guys on campus? Are any of them ready? I don't know. We're not at practice. But only the coach can know that. And that's frustrating for fans. I get it. It's frustrating for the parents of the kids that are waiting their turn to play. But at the end of the day, it's the coach's call. And he is paid to win games. It is my experience in the last couple of years from talking to people that work at NIL, deal directly with the head coaches and the collectives, the players themselves at quarterback trainers, all of them, it's pretty much the same thing. It's about what you're trying to do right then. It changes for every team every year. There is no one answer. Sometimes you need a quarterback as a quote unquote bridge quarterback. I mean, look at the guys right now. Mendoza at Indiana, they're number one. Would they be there if they didn't get him? Probably not. They'd probably be pretty bad. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like Michigan, Notre Dame, and Ohio State all have freshman or redshirt freshman quarterbacks this year. They're not in the portal market. That helps the other teams. That's 3 big box schools. They're not spending cash. However, there's still plenty that are. If you're going to do it, again, it's about money. I don't know how many different teams really will get in this. I got a few more I want to talk about, like Florida State, etc. But you have to make the right decision for your room each year. There isn't just one answer. As Katie brings up here, it's complex. And sometimes, just from talking to some of the people that are directly involved, sometimes it's the player himself, sometimes it's the agent, whatever. It's really about the money and the fit. Some kids just don't want to go that far from home. Some kids want to play down south or up north. It is very subjective. There is no one answer, but it's a great topic. And I know some of the kids get mad if they have somebody come in over them, but you got to look at it from the coach's perspective here. If they don't win that year, they can get fired. Like, people are getting fired in 2 years. It is a short rope that you're with. You've got to use it accordingly. So keep that in mind. Let's see what we got here. Captain Jim, 44 Smith, 74. The main thing is fit for a quarterback, 100%. Culture and his level of maturity plus talent. That's one of the best posts I've ever had on this show. Flat out. Not any one of those things, all of them. Again, this is what Captain Jim says. The main thing is fit for a quarterback. It's true. It doesn't matter how much you pay him if he doesn't feel comfortable in the system, if he doesn't feel comfortable at the school, all that money is for naught. You will not win games. Of course, the culture is a part of what I just said. And then the maturity for the kid. If he has success, how do you handle it? Are you acting like a jerk around other players about how much money you're making, this, that, and the other? You can turn the locker room off. And then you're not going to win games no matter how good that guy is. I cannot stress enough the following statement. This is not just quarterback either. One of the big things from talking to college coaches now, it's not how good a player is. Like, Brian, you went to see so-and-so this weekend. How good were they? Everybody gets to watch film. They may take my opinion. I may pass it along to somebody that's looking for something specific at D end or corner or whatever if I run into a coach at a practice or a game. But it's more about what is the kid and the family and the people around them like in terms of maturity and whether or not, these are the 2 big words now in college football recruiting, are they or are they not low maintenance? Yes, this is a PSA right here. If you're a recruit that is high maintenance because of the people around you, get rid of some of those people. I'm telling you now that money will go away. Those offers will not be real. They will get rid of you. There's been a lot of that. Look at Georgia. Quarterback included. They've got rid of some kids. Really talented offensive line, receiver, quarterback, etc. If you are high maintenance, you're gone. If you're getting in trouble, you're gone. If you're the guy that has a third uncle coming into the office all the time asking for money, you're gone. Low maintenance. It is bottom line. With that, let's talk a little bit about not just what it's going to take at quarterback, but some of the combinations why a quarterback would want to go to a school. Katie says Georgia succeeds with their own quarterbacks. By and large, they do. They did take a transfer a couple of years ago. The kid that was at Florida, he was at Arizona, so I forget his name. He's a California kid. It didn't work out, and he left. But for the most part, Georgia's smart about it. Think about the top programs right now. Ohio State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Texas. For the most part, Bama, although they did bring in one kid when DeBoer came in, most of the elite programs have their own QB. There are exceptions. Notre Dame until this year was taking transfers, and Miami's hit with the transfer portal. Like last year, the Heisman could have went that direction and this direction, blah, blah. Portal quarterbacks are always involved in the Heisman race every year, and the number one pick in the draft was a transfer. I mean, again, Carson Beck comes in. He's not going to win the Heisman this year, but he's going to be first 3 rounds out of Miami. You could do it either way, but most of the teams are now trying at least to win with a quarterback that's homegrown. It's just hard because projecting high school quarterbacks is super difficult. It's the off the field stuff I was just talking about, high maintenance, how quickly do they understand? And quite honestly, just post snap reads, just old school. Are they able to learn the system? It's iffy, but that's part of it. When we come back, I'll get to this situation with a few more schools that I think are going to be very important, including Florida State. How much are they willing to spend? Because they said, allegedly, when the Norvell news came out, that Florida State was going to contend for championships. Are they really? Are they a team that can do that? Are they going to spend at that level with Norvell? I have at least a little bit of a doubt about that. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. The holidays come with two big goals: feeding the people around you very well and finding gifts they'll actually love. And when you want to have both handled in one move, Omaha Steaks is a way to go. From hosting to gifting, they deliver the world's best steak experiences right to your door. Because during the Sizzle All the Way sale, you can stock up and save in a huge way, 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. And it gets even better. Locked On College listeners can get an extra $35 off with code COLLEGE at checkout. So if you've got that person who's probably not the easiest to shop for, how many of them also don't like either steaks, desserts, burgers, sides, just a complete comfort meal sent right to their door? Omaha Steaks can do that, and it doesn't have to be a gift either. It could be for yourself. Save big on the gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during the Sizzle All the Way sale. For an extra $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com and use code COLLEGE. Who are the teams that are also going to be in the market? I want to talk about Florida State for a second. There's not just one team, in my opinion, that really ends up taking the cake for this whole market, unless it's maybe, again, as I said at the earlier part of the show, Oregon, because they got so much money. But Florida State's in a really precarious situation. Mike Norvell is back. How much are they going to spend to keep him around? Are they going to spend just enough to get to bowl eligibility and wait for his contract to go down in a couple of years, get rid of him and start all over and then really spend? Or are they really going to go all in right now? It was denied. Talking about Tommy Castellanos, he thought he was going to get another year. He's appealing. But if he doesn't get it, they got to get a quarterback to at least compete. I personally think they've got a couple guys on the roster they should give a really strong shot to play. Kevin Sperry is a freshman this year it's got some talent. But whatever the case may be, they're going to bring in some kind of quarterback. Will they go big dog and go spend $3-4 million on a guy? That can change the market. Maybe they're going to compete at the top with Lane Kiffin and LSU, with Indiana and Kurt Cignetti. All those kinds of teams. When you have more in the mix, if you will, if there are just 3 or 4 guys, that's gonna make a big difference. And to that end, here are a couple others. Georgia Tech, Haynes King's leaving. I don't think they're going to spend a ton. Oklahoma State is going to get Drew Mustamaker, the kid from North Texas, because the coach is coming over with him. But what about Florida? If DJ leaves, are they going to go for big dog? I mean, there's some schools, Miami, obviously. There are some schools here that can really make this interesting. And that's why I want to bring up Colton Joseph. He's the quarterback at Old Dominion. Really talented player. He's thrown for a bunch of yards. He's a kid from just outside of Los Angeles. I believe he's Newport Beach. This season, this is the most important thing. He can do either if you want to run the ball a lot or pass it. As a runner, 158 carries, 1,007 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6'2", 200 pounds. He's got a couple of years of eligibility left, so you don't get just a one-hit wonder. And he didn't just do this against lower level. He ran for 179 yards against Indiana. Indiana's the team that just held Ohio State to well under 100 yards rushing. This kid's good as an athlete, as a runner. As a passer, he's still improving. But Colton Joseph, 173 at 290 at Old Dominion, 59.7%, 2,664 yards, 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He's evolving. He's not a finished product, but he has an arm. He's an athlete, and he is proven in big games. If you run for 179 against Indiana, you're pretty good. He also had over 270 yards passing against Virginia Tech, a couple of scores, and ran for the better part of 100 yards in that same game. He's proven it against some of the better teams that, let's be honest, Old Dominion probably can't block really well up front. They don't have the same players that Indiana, Virginia Tech does. But at the same time, Colton Joseph, he's going to have a lot of options. And remember, he's a West Coast kid. What if Oregon does lose Dante Moore? That'd be pretty interesting. If the Ducks get in that sweepstakes or any other big quarterback, it changes things. But here's the other thing I like about Joseph that I just touched on a second ago, and why somebody like Oregon or somebody else, maybe it's Kiffin at LSU, would find intriguing. multiple years of eligibility. Most of the guys that we're going to talk about over the next month as we get to the portal actually being open, they're going to have 1 year. Most, not all, but most. If you can get this kid who is, again, an additionally not just good passer, maybe just a little better than that, but he's not where he needs to be yet. He's just under 60%. If you can get him up to that 65, 66% range, doesn't sound like a big difference, but 1 or 2 passes in a game is the difference between winning and losing in the SEC, the Big Ten, or playing at a school like Florida State in the ACC. It's huge. If he could prove just a little bit with elite athleticism, again, 1,007 yards rushing this year and 13 scores. He's an athlete. You get multiple years with him, you can go from the outhouse to the penthouse. I expect him to be closer to $4 million for a school. Which one it is, I don't know. $3 million is kind of the bottom end. Florida State, Miami, maybe even Florida. So all the big three, possibly Penn State, maybe Oregon's involved. Tennessee's a team that may or may not be involved, depending on what goes on with Aguilar. LSU, if Trinidad Chambliss does not get in the mix, there are a lot of things going on there that are really intriguing. I think that it will be fun to see where he ends up because he's a trendsetter. He's early to the market. He's not going to be the last, but he's also a guy, again, multiple years of eligibility. What could he do under Kiffin? Somebody who's obviously a very good quarterback coach, if given multiple years. Jaden Daniels, ironically, and although he wasn't under Kiffin, the difference between him and some other guys that were older players, you saw the development. He was pretty good at Arizona State, but that maturity, having better players around him, obviously a ton of talent at LSU at wide receiver year in, year out. Maybe that's the spot for him. Or maybe it's another run pass quarterback. Whatever it is, the guys with multiple years of eligibility, I'm curious to see what they get just for year one. They probably will have clauses in their contract, but I think $3 million is going to be bottom end for 1 year. And if they're 2-year guys, you could be looking at $7-8 million pretty quick. And it's not out of the question. It's 10 years or 10 million for 2 years. It's very possible. I don't know if Joseph will be that guy. Kind of, again, it's going to depend on some random stuff. Mendoza's going to leave, so Indiana's going to be in the market. Does Trinidad Chambliss end up at LSU? I highly doubt he stays at Ole Miss if he has another year of eligibility. Dante Moore, does he turn pro? Especially if he has a good college football playoff for the Ducks, or maybe they go to the final game or something. We'll see. We got the 3 Florida schools. You got Tennessee. This is going to be wild. I'm really curious what everybody else thinks about this. But again, if you're listening to this later or you're riding the hot hand, thinking about all these different things, you want to comment on the YouTube page, fire away at Locked On the Portal on YouTube. Katie, Miami has done nothing to develop their quarterbacks. They have to go portal. How long can this go on before it bites them in the butt? This is a great question. Katie brings up something here that every team goes through. Notre Dame was in that situation going into this year. They decided not to go portal, and they bring on CJ Carr. Obviously, he's very talented, but that's not always the case for every school. And it's a big question around the Miami program. My buddy Alex Dono, who runs Locked On Canes, told me he expects the Canes to go portal again. They've got a freshman that's pretty talented, and they've got a signee, but Mario's a conservative guy. I highly doubt he's going to go with a redshirt freshman or true freshman. Will this be the last year they go portal? Possibly. But if they got Colton Joseph, it could cause some angst. Who knows? Again, he's got multiple years. So if they go portal quarterback, 1 year is my guess. They would have to take a guy that's a 1-year hit, or they're going to risk losing not one, but both of the young quarterbacks that are on the roster that most people think the Canes are going to do something with. And there's also Emory Williams, who's waited his turn. He's been the backup for 3 years in Miami. He might leave no matter what if you take any portal quarterback. There's always risk. So it's a very good point. Katie, let me ask you, do you think Florida's going to take quarterbacks? Of course they are. DJ or not, whether he's there or not, they don't have much for right. They got like 2 quarterbacks on the roster. So that's very, very complex. The other part, you got to figure there's going to be somebody unexpectedly that's going to lose a quarterback. That changes the market too. Maybe it's somebody has a tie to South Florida. By the way, Fernando Mendoza is from Miami Columbus, the same high school that Mario Cristobal's from. I don't think they went after him. That's probably the biggest mistake he could have made because I think he's even better, obviously, than the quarterback they have. But whatever, the situation plays out, and it makes the portal so wild. Final point here, Miami, Florida State, whatever team, it's going to be a lot of money. And your entire offseason starts with quarterback because it's the most expensive. $3 million, again, is my barometer minimum price that I expect to see. It could be more. It could be really, really dicey. For some teams, if they have to win now, like if that coaching staff is on that teeter-totter point of getting fired, that price could go up. It's going to be very, very, very fascinating. Thank you once again to everybody that came into the chat, for everybody that comes in each and every day here on the Portal Podcast. We'll be back to noon shows very soon, but this I needed to get out of the way a little earlier. I apologize for the early start time for those of you who are used to a noon show, but everybody have a good one. We will see you again soon right here on the Portal Podcast.